That's what Jennifer Lopez said.
When she married that billionaire, all of that was going on when Diddy was harassing her.
You're who?
The last freak off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million.
What if the biggest names in music were connected by a story that was far darker than anyone ever imagined? For years, Jaguar Wright has been one of the loudest voices making explosive claims about the entertainment industry. And now, once again, she is putting names on the table. Diddy,
Jay-Z,
Janet Jackson, Jennifer Lopez, Young Miami, Beyoncé, Naomi Campbell, and even some of the biggest male stars in the world. But before we go any further, there is something extremely important to understand. The claims being discussed here are allegations and statements attributed to Jaguar Wright and other people featured in the source material. They are not established facts simply because someone says them publicly. And that distinction matters, because some of these accusations are extraordinarily serious. Yet that is exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Jaguar Wright has spent years talking about what she believes happens behind the scenes in the music business. According to the transcript, she has repeatedly criticized Diddy and Jay-Z while arguing that powerful people in entertainment have been protected by money, influence, and public distraction. Her latest comments allegedly go even further. And one particular subject immediately grabs attention: Diddy's relationships with women in the entertainment industry. The transcript attributes claims to Wright involving an alleged HIV-related situation and several female celebrities. Again, there is no verified evidence presented in the source proving these claims. But the names being mentioned are enough to make people stop scrolling. Because this isn't just about one celebrity. It is about an entire network of relationships. And that is where things become complicated. Diddy, Jay-Z, and the question of accountability. According to the source, Wright has also questioned why Jay-Z has remained largely outside the center of public scrutiny while other major celebrities became the focus of scandals. Her argument, as presented in the transcript, is that the public's attention repeatedly moved from one powerful celebrity to another. First are Kelly, then Kanye West, then Diddy. And according to her theory, the constant shift in attention allowed other powerful figures to remain outside the spotlight. That is an allegation and an interpretation, not proof of wrongdoing. But it raises an interesting question. Why does public attention move so quickly from one scandal to the next? And how much does celebrity influence affect what the public sees? Those questions became even more controversial when the transcript discussed a lawsuit involving Diddy and Jay-Z. The source describes an amended complaint in which an anonymous accuser alleged that she was assaulted at a 2000 MTV Video Music Awards afterparty. The original filing reportedly identified Diddy and an unnamed celebrity, while a later version identified that celebrity as Jay-Z. Jay-Z denied the allegations, and the case was eventually dismissed. The transcript also discusses claims that the accuser acknowledged inconsistencies in her story. But rather than ending the conversation, the dismissal became another point of debate. Because when a case involving famous people disappears from the headlines, people often begin asking questions that may never have clear answers. And Jaguar Wright, according to the transcript, has questioned whether there was pressure behind some of these situations. But again, those are her claims. They should not be treated as proven facts. Then came the names. The transcript moves into one of its most controversial sections when it begins discussing female celebrities allegedly connected to Diddy. One of the biggest names mentioned is Janet Jackson. The source attributes claims to Wright suggesting that Diddy had harassed Janet and that she had to navigate complicated circumstances to protect herself. The transcript goes even further by connecting Janet's relationships and personal life to broader theories about the entertainment industry. But there is an important problem here. The source does not provide independent evidence establishing these accusations. So rather than treating the claims as fact, the real story is that these allegations are being discussed publicly and that people are debating whether there is any evidence behind them. That distinction becomes critical when the discussion turns toward health-related allegations. Because accusations involving someone's medical status are extremely serious. and without verified medical records or reliable evidence, nobody should assume that such claims are true. Still, the allegations have generated attention because of the people involved. And then another name appears: Young Miami. Young Miami and the Diddy relationship. Young Miami's relationship with Diddy was highly publicized. The transcript portrays Wright as being extremely critical of that relationship, suggesting that Young Miami benefited financially and socially from being associated with Diddy. Wright allegedly characterized the relationship in very harsh terms. But here again, the source presents commentary and allegations, not verified evidence. And that distinction matters because celebrity relationships can look completely different from the outside than they do behind closed doors. Money, fame, access, and power can create complicated dynamics. The transcript argues that some women around Diddy may have been given the appearance of elevated status while simultaneously being exposed to circumstances they did not fully control. That is one of the more important themes running through the entire story: power. Because when one person controls money, opportunities, access, and reputation, the relationship can become extremely unequal. And that leads directly into the next celebrity discussed: Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez enters the story. Jennifer Lopez has been connected to Diddy since the late 1990s. Their relationship became part of entertainment history, but the transcript revisits that era through the lens of the controversies surrounding Diddy. It references allegations from a lawsuit involving Rodney Lil Rod Jones and claims surrounding the 1999 nightclub shooting. The source states that Lopez was accused of carrying a firearm into Club New York. That allegation should not be confused with an established finding of fact. But it is part of the broader controversy discussed in the transcript. And according to the source, Wright has also been openly critical of Lopez's career and public image. This is where the story takes another turn, because the transcript isn't simply presenting allegations about Diddy anymore. It is building a picture of a celebrity ecosystem where relationships, business, reputation, and alleged misconduct overlap. And then comes another unexpected subject: Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
Jaguar Wright on hip-hop bep.
According to the transcript, Wright also discussed modern hip-hop rivalries and expressed criticism of how personal rap beef has become. The source references Kendrick Lamar and Drake while contrasting modern battles with earlier eras involving artists such as Tupac, Biggie, and Nas. The criticism is straightforward. When rap battles involve wives, children, personal accusations, and private information, the conflict can move far beyond music. And that creates a completely different kind of danger. Because once a feud becomes personal, there may be no clear boundary between entertainment and real-life consequences. But perhaps the most interesting question is this: if the industry knows how dangerous these conflicts can become, why does the culture continue rewarding them? That question hangs over the entire discussion. And just when you think the allegations cannot become more extreme, the transcript introduces another major name: Naomi Campbell. Naomi Campbell and the Celebrity Network. The source mentions Naomi Campbell while discussing celebrity networks and controversial associations. It references allegations and speculation surrounding high-profile parties and connections to people involved in other scandals. But once again, association is not proof of wrongdoing. Being present at an event, appearing in photographs, or knowing someone does not automatically establish criminal behavior. That is something viewers should keep in mind as the story continues. Because the deeper we go, the more names appear. And the bigger the names become, the easier it becomes for speculation to overwhelm evidence. But there is one allegation in this transcript that may be the most sensational of all: the claim that Diddy allegedly possessed or sold compromising recordings involving famous celebrities. But according to the transcript, Jaguar Wright's most shocking claims involve something even more disturbing: allegedly recorded footage. The transcript attributes claims to Wright that Diddy possessed recordings involving high-profile celebrities, and that some of this material may have been sold privately. One claim even suggests that a recording allegedly sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. But stop right there. There is no independently verified evidence presented in the source proving that such a transaction occurred. The number is extraordinary. The allegation is extraordinary. And that is precisely why it needs to be treated with extreme caution. Because once the internet hears a number like $500 million, speculation can spread faster than facts. The transcript also names several major celebrities allegedly appearing in these supposed recordings. But again, the source provides no independently verified footage establishing those claims. So the responsible question isn't, which celebrities are definitely in these tapes? The responsible question is there credible evidence that these tapes exist in the form being claimed? That is a completely different question. And it is one that the public cannot answer simply through social media clips. The darknet claims. The transcript goes on to discuss alleged sales through the darknet and cryptocurrency. That idea sounds like something from a Hollywood thriller. But the source provides no verifiable evidence demonstrating that such transactions actually occurred. This is where sensational celebrity stories can become dangerous. One person makes a claim. Another person repeats it. A clip gets uploaded. Someone adds a dramatic headline. Then thousands of people begin discussing the allegation as if it were already proven. Within hours, the original distinction between alleged and confirmed can disappear. And that is exactly why stories like this require caution. But there is another section of the transcript that deserves attention because it focuses on people who have publicly discussed Diddy's relationships. One of those people is former bodyguard Gene Deal. Gene Deal and Kim Porter. The transcript features Gene Deal discussing Kim Porter, Diddy's former partner and the mother of several of his children. According to Deal, the alleged abuse he witnessed or heard about involving Kim Porter reminded him of allegations later made publicly by Cassie Ventura. This comparison is significant because Cassie's allegations brought renewed attention to Diddy's past relationships. The transcript describes claims that Kim and Diddy had a physically abusive relationship. Deal allegedly recalled an incident in which Kim defended herself during a confrontation and injured Diddy's wrist with a corkscrew. He also discusses photographs in which Diddy's wrist appeared injured. But even here, viewers should separate what was personally witnessed from what was later repeated or interpreted. The transcript itself uses the word allegedly when discussing some of these accusations. And that is important, because an allegation can be serious without automatically being proven. Cassie Ventura changes the conversation. Then the story returns to Cassie. Cassie's allegations against Diddy became one of the defining moments in the public discussion surrounding him. The transcript argues that what Cassie described resembled what people had previously heard about Kim Porter. Gene Deal reportedly said that Cassie's experiences reminded him of what Kim had allegedly gone through. This creates an uncomfortable question. Could multiple people have experienced similar patterns inside the same environment? Or are people connecting separate stories because they already believe a particular narrative? That question cannot be answered through commentary alone. It requires evidence. But the comparison remains powerful because it shows how one person's allegations can cause the public to revisit decades of celebrity history. And that is exactly what happened. Old photographs resurfaced. Old interviews were re-examined. Old relationships suddenly looked different. And stories that had once been dismissed or ignored became part of a much larger conversation. The alleged freak-off footage. The transcript also references an audio recording involving Cassie reacting strongly to someone who allegedly claimed to have seen compromising footage. Her reaction, as presented in the source, is emotional and confrontational. She allegedly wants to know how the person saw the footage and where it came from. That reaction does not prove the existence of any specific recording, but it does illustrate something important. The possibility of private recordings becoming public can be terrifying for anyone who believes sensitive material exists. And that brings us to one of the biggest issues surrounding this entire story: privacy. If private recordings exist, who owns them? Who created them? Were participants aware they were being recorded? Were they recorded voluntarily? Were they ever distributed? And if someone attempted to sell such material, what laws would apply? Those are serious legal questions, and they cannot be answered by social media speculation. The bigger picture. At this point, it would be easy to focus only on the names. Diddy,
Jay-Z,
Janet, J-Lo, Young Miami, Naomi, Cassie.
Kim Porter.
But the bigger story isn't really about celebrity name-dropping. It's about power. For decades, the entertainment industry has operated around people with enormous influence. Record labels, managers, producers, executives, artists, security teams, publicists, lawyers, and massive financial networks. When something happens inside that system, the person with more money and influence can sometimes have far more resources to control the public narrative. That does not mean every accusation is true, and it does not mean every celebrity connection is evidence of criminal behavior. But it does explain why people continue asking questions about accountability. Why Jaguar Wright's claims continue getting attention. Jaguar Wright has become controversial precisely because she speaks with certainty and frequently makes claims about people who occupy extremely powerful positions. Supporters see her as someone willing to say what others are afraid to say. Critics argue that some of her statements are unverified, exaggerated, or unsupported, and that creates the central conflict. Who should the public believe? The answer should not simply be Jaguar Wright. It should not simply be Diddy. It should not simply be another celebrity. It should be evidence, documents, court records, verified testimony, credible journalism, and corroborated information, because the consequences of getting these stories wrong are enormous. Real victims can be harmed when their experiences are dismissed. But innocent people can also be harmed when unverified accusations are presented as facts. The question nobody can escape. The transcript ends with a question that perfectly captures the controversy. Are Jaguar Wright's claims true? Or was Diddy simply too careful to allow this kind of information to become public? There is a third possibility that people often forget. Some claims may contain elements of truth while other details may be inaccurate, exaggerated, or impossible to verify. Real investigations rarely fit neatly into viral clips. And that is why viewers should resist the temptation to believe everything or dismiss everything. Instead, watch what happens next. Watch the court records. Watch verified reporting. Watch whether witnesses provide corroborating evidence. Watch whether claims survive scrutiny. Because when the headlines disappear, evidence is what remains. And if even a fraction of the allegations discussed in this transcript were ever independently substantiated, the implications for the entertainment industry would be enormous. But until that happens, these claims remain claims. And perhaps that is the most important takeaway from this entire story. The celebrity world is built on image, but accountability is built on evidence. So the real question isn't simply, who is Jaguar Wright accusing next? The real question is, what can actually be proven? Because that is where the difference between a viral allegation and a verified scandal begins. And if the next chapter brings new evidence, new witnesses, or new court filings, the story could become even bigger. For now, the names are circulating. The allegations are being debated, and the public is watching. The only question is, what comes next?